Okay, today's lesson. Hey, algebra class, we're learning about factoring. So yesterday we learned how to factor using the GCF. Today we're going to be factoring learning a different method. So yesterday, GCF. First step is always to look for a GCF, but in today's lesson we won't have to find a GCF. We're going to learn two methods today, and then tomorrow you'll learn another method. And then once you get the hang of it, you'll kind of pick which method works best for you, kind of like what we did with systems. At the top of the page, it kind of explains both of the methods. The first one is using a reverse window pane, and the second one is using a district method, which is more of a grouping method. I'll work through some of the problems using both methods so you can kind of get used to both methods and just choose whichever one you want. I'm not going to read through this. I'm actually going to work a problem. That way you'll kind of understand it through working it, but you can go through and read that on your own. If any time during this you don't understand what I'm doing, or you're lost, or I'm going too fast, just pause the video and rewind. That way you can see which method works best for you. Okay, so we have x squared plus 7x plus 10. With factoring, what we're doing is going backwards, and we're trying to see what were the two binomials that we multiplied in parentheses to get that answer. So the test you just took was multiply binomials and polynomials, and then you get your answer, right? So now we're working our way backwards. We have our trinomial answer. We're trying to see, okay, what were the two binomials that we multiplied? Everybody got it? What's not listed on here is my first step. My first step to helping you is the signs, because the signs kind of, people struggle with those. So you take whatever your first sign is that's in the middle of that. That's a positive, so that means one of your parentheses is going to have a positive. And then you see both of these, a positive and a positive. A positive times a positive is what? A positive. So that means the second one's going to have a positive. So since when both of them are separated, the terms are separated by a positive, that means that both of your parentheses are going to have positives in there, okay? So now we're going to factor. The first method we're going to look at is the reverse window pane. Kind of like our product map. So we draw a window pane, and step one, whatever our first term is, we write that in here. X squared. Everybody got that? Whatever the last term is, we write that in this bottom corner. So we write our first and our last. Then the next step, we're going to draw a t-chart, and in our t-chart we'll multiply a times c on the left side, and we're trying to see which products of a and c will give us our middle term of b. For those of you who are asking what is a and c, our equations are written in this format: ax squared plus bx plus c. So a, b, and c just basically represents the coefficients. The coefficient in front of the square, the coefficient in front of the x, coefficient in the back. So it's just the coefficients we're looking at. So here in this first one, all the ones we're doing today will have a coefficient of 1 for a. So there's nothing there, so it's basically 1 times 10. Our a and our c is 1 and a 10. And so we're trying to see, okay, a times c equals 10. So which factors of 10 will give us the b, which is equal to 7x, okay? So I would suggest you list out the factors in numerical order. So we know the factors of 10 are 1 times 10, 2 times 5, and that's it. So if we add them together, so multiply, they give us 10. But when we add them, 1 plus 10 is 11. 2 plus 5 is 7. Which one of those factors equaled our middle term? That 7x, that middle term b? This one, you're right. So that tells us these are the two factors that we're going to use in our binomial, 2 and 5. And so now we come over here to the window pane and write 2x and 5x. It doesn't matter where you write it. You can write it at the top. You can put the 2x down here or the 5x up there. It doesn't matter. You can put it wherever you want. Got that? So that's step one. So that's that step. So the first step, we wrote our first and last term. Then we came over here to see, okay, that a times c Which one of those will give us our middle term? 2 and 5 worked, so we plugged it back in. And these same steps are listed at the top of the page. I'm just kind of talking you through it. Then after that, then we're going to go through and factor this out. So we say, okay, we got x squared. How do we get x squared? X times x. Okay, we got 2x. How do we get that? X times a positive 2. Okay, 5x. How do we get that? X times what? Positive 5. And so your factors, we've done this with the algebra tile or whatever's on the outside. So your answer is x plus 2 and x plus 5. Those were the binomials that we originally multiplied to get that answer. Pause it if you need to look at it and take your time. I'm going to go ahead and do the second problem. The same problem, but I'm going to do the second method. So the second method, if you look at the top, it says method 2 is the district method. So we have our same problem, x squared plus 7x plus 10. And with this method, you do the same t-chart. Okay? So step 1, you do the t-chart. After you do the t-chart, so we're saying, okay, after the t-chart, I didn't mean to do that. We can break down our middle term, and we saw that our t-chart is 2x plus 5x are the two factors that worked, right? And then bring everything else down, the x squared, and then bring down the plus 10. So step 1, we did our t-chart, 2 and 5 worked, so we brought that down. Then brought down the 10 and the x. Now we're just going to group. So we're going to group these first two terms together and those last two terms together. And what we're going to do here is pull out the GCF. So look at the first two terms. What's the GCF? They have in common an x. So we can pull out an x. And once we take an x out of x squared, how many x's we have left over? 1. If we take an x out of 2x, how many do we have left over? Positive 2. So we pull the GCF out of that one. Then we're going to pull our GCF out of the last two terms. What do they have in common? A 5, right? Both of them are divisible by 5. So when we divide 5x by 5, then we have an x left over, and 10 divided by 5, we have a 2 left over. Got that? Then this one, the cool thing about this method is you should have the same terms in the parentheses. And so it's a good checking method. So if you don't have x plus 2 and x plus 2 in the same parentheses, that means you did something wrong. And so your answer is take one of those parentheses. That's one of your binomials. And then whatever's left on the outside, the two GCFs, that's what goes in the second parentheses. So your answer is x plus 5, x plus 2. The same thing we got over here at this method. So one of the answers came from in the parentheses because they're identical, and the other one is the outside x and the outside 5. Okay, let's go to the back and do more practice. Pause if you need to take time to absorb and see what exactly we did. Okay, so now I'm going to do more problems, but I'm going to do different methods. I mean, the same methods, but I'm going to start off with the window pane. So we're going to do number 2. I'm going to do the window pane. Draw my window pane. We'll put in my first term and my last term. Got it? Then I'm going to do my t-chart, a times c, and the b. The b in this problem, the middle term is equal to negative 7x, and the a times c is 12. Got that? Now don't forget in our parentheses, because remember that's ultimately our answer, we're going to go ahead and get our signs, because this is going to really matter with our factors. Remember, the rule is take that first sign that's separating those first two terms. That's a negative, so that means one of our signs is going to be a negative. Then to get whatever the sign is in the second parentheses, a negative times a positive is what? A negative. So that tells us both of our factors in the parentheses are going to be negative. Got that? Okay, now let's break down the 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Remember, they're both negative, 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 negative. Why are all the factors negative? Because we have negatives. Got it? And so then we add negative 1, negative 12, that's going to be negative 13. Negative 2 and negative 6, that's going to be negative 8. And negative 3 and negative 4 is going to be negative 7. Which one of those give us our middle term? That one right there. And so that means that negative 3 and negative 4x work, so I could come write them over here. Negative 3x, negative 4x. Got it? And then we backwards factor to get x squared, x times x. To get negative 4x, x times negative 4. And to get this negative 3x, x times negative 3. So our factors are up here, x minus 3. And on the side, we have x minus 4. Got that? Okay, I'm going to do number 3. I'm going to try the district method for this one. So with the district, I'm going to break down my t-chart. A, C, and B. A times C is 20. The middle term B is negative 9x. What are my factors of 20? 1 times 20. 2 times 10. 4 times 5. And that's it. The first sign's a negative. Negative times a positive. The second sign is also going to be a negative. Let's scoot that over a little bit. Sorry. Got it? So that means both of my numbers inside the factors over here are all going to be negative again. And let's add them up. Negative 1, negative 20, that's going to be negative 21. Negative 2, negative 10, that's going to be negative 12. Negative 4, negative 5 is going to be negative 9. We're trying to get our middle term equal negative 9. So once again, the last one works. So that means negative 4x and negative 5x worked, right? So remember I said I'm doing the district method with the grouping. So with that method, and if you want to do window pane, the reverse window pane, you could do that and you should get the same answer we did. So break it down. Negative 4x, negative 5x. I'm going to bring down my positive 20. I'm going to bring down my x squared. Remember this method, we grouped the first two together, the last two together. What do they have in common? The GCF? You're right, it's x. When we take an x out, we have x and a negative 4 left over. What do these two have in common? We're going to bring out a negative 5. Why are we going to bring out the negative 5? So that the negative is not left with the x. And then we have x and a negative 4 left over. Got that? Do we have identical parentheses? Yes, we do. So that's one of our answers, x minus 4. Then remember, you look on the outside of the parentheses at the GCF, and x minus 5 is the other one. Got it? And so there's our answer. Those are the binomials or the factors that we use to multiply to get that answer. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Okay, I'm doing my reverse window pane. First term, and if anytime you want to pause and try it on your own and then press play again, that'll really help. First and last term, my A times C and my B. My first sign's a positive. A positive times a negative, that means the second parenthesis is going to be a negative. My A times C, that's going to be negative 12. Middle term is 4x. So my factors are 1 and 12. 2 and, my mind just went blank, 6, 3 and 4. Now, look at our signs. One's a positive, one is a negative. So you ask yourself, okay, which one of the factors am I going to make a positive, which is going to be a negative? If you look at your middle term, it's a positive, right? So our negative probably should go with the smaller numbers. And if it doesn't work, it's like a guess and check. You can go back and change it and move the negative numbers to the larger numbers if it doesn't work. So you got to try all your possibilities. If the negative doesn't go with the smaller factors, then put it with the higher factors. 12 minus 1 is 11. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. Which one is our middle term? That one right there. So that means one of the factors is negative 2x and one of them is 6x. Got it? Oh, something else I forgot to say. When you're done, guys, you can go back and multiply the binomial to see if it'll give you your answer. If you multiply it and it doesn't give you the original answer, then it means you factored it wrong. So you can, if you have time, you always can go back and check. So here we have x and x. To get negative 2x, x times negative 2. To get 6x, x times 6. So my factors are x plus 6 and then x minus 2. Got it? Okay, let's look at this one. I'm going to do the reverse one, the district method. So our middle term's 3x, a times c is negative 4. Factors are 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. First sign is going to be a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. Got it? One of the numbers is negative, one's a positive, so I'll look over here, a positive 3x, so it's probably going to go with the smaller numbers. 4 minus 1 is 3, 2 minus 2 is 0. Which one matches the middle term? That one. So with the district method, remember we rewrite it, the trinomial, and then we break down the middle term. Negative 1 and 4 work, so I have negative 1x and a positive 4x. Bring down that negative 4, bring down this x squared. Those two have an x in common, that leaves me with x minus 1. These two have a negative 4 in common, so that leaves us with x minus 1 again. Our answer, x minus 1 is one of the factors, and on the outside we have, oh, I did something wrong. What did I do? Hold on, let me think. Okay, I see what I did. I pulled out a negative 4. I don't need to pull out a negative 4, I need to pull out a positive 4. So then 4x divided by 4 is x, negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1, so my bad. So then, yeah, x minus 1 is one of the factors, and on the outside we have x plus 4. And so there we go. Got it? Okay, let's look at number 4. Have our t-chart, a times c and b. The b is equal to 4x, a times c is 5. The only factors of 5 are what? 5 and 1, right? So then both signs are positive, so that means both are going to be positive, but when we add 5 and 1, we get 6, right? Are there any other factors? Nope. So that means nothing's going to work. This is an example of a prime answer when nothing works. When you tried all your possibilities, it's prime. Some of y'all are probably saying, oh, so if our number is prime, does that mean that our answer is going to be prime? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. You have some instances where it will work. So don't lean on that. You have to actually try the possibilities. But in this case, 5 and 1 doesn't work. Now, had one of these signs have been a negative, then we would have did 5 minus 1 and got 4. But you can't change the signs. You have to use whatever they are. Got it? This one, okay. A times c is negative 24. The b is equal to negative 5x. Factors of 24, 1 and 24. Sorry, I messed that up. 2 times 12. 3 times 8. 4 times 6. Got it? One sign's a negative. Negative times a negative. One of the signs is, why did I do that? It's going to be a positive. That was a mistake right there. So I look at my middle term, it's a negative. So if I'm going to get these answers negative, the higher, larger number is going to be up to the negative. Got that? Then we end up with negative 23, negative 10, negative 5, negative 2. The negative 5 works, right? So my factors are 3 and negative 8. So that means I'm going to have x minus 8 and x plus 3, because 3 and negative 8 went in there. Got it? And lastly, we have number 7. Look at this one. We have some numbers that are different. Oops, I'm about to reach the 20-minute mark on the video, so I'm probably going to have to upload a second video to complete this one. Here, if you look at it, first step from yesterday, what we learned, we're going to have to pull out a GCF. The GCF in this problem is a 2. So